Hi, welcome back to Box Delights and welcome to part 2 of our tutorial for Secrets of the Lost Station. Our scenario tells us we should now continue to explore a new room. Remember, the order of play is move and then primary action. So let's move through an open door. Let's move this way. So we move, we explore, that means we have to stop moving, and we've revealed the gravity control. Remember, doors adjoin, our companions follow. And this is a scenario trigger, gravity control explored. The scenario guide says, "Congratulations, you have found the station's gravity control room." Gravity control has an action room effect. That means that while you're here, you have access to a unique room action. It says a knowledge check 2. So we check our knowledge stat. We need 2 successes. And if we pass, all explorers increase their movement and creatures reduce theirs until after the next combat event. Okay, let's activate reverse gravity. Balthazar's not the brightest explorer in the gang, but we do have a companion. Remember, we have Nakatomi, who adds 1 success to all knowledge checks. So we really only need to get 1 success from 2 dice. Okay, given the 1 here. Let's roll our dice. And no, we don't have a success. This is a critical failure. There's no critical failure consequence. Now, as it goes, we don't care about passing or failing this event, because if we fail, it says Darwin helps us out here and lets us pass anyway. You use the gravity control to reduce the effective gravity on the station. You feel light on your feet and can bounce down corridors with little effort. That's it, we've moved, we've used our primary action, reverse gravity. Now it's the station phase. So we flip over the next event on the station track. Remember, some of these are random and some of these are fixed. This is a random one that we've pre-placed it, and it is a station event. Once more, in the scenario guide, under this scenario, there's an event section, and we resolve station event number 1, the first we find. A storm of large meteors pummels the station. You feel the floor buck beneath you. The scenario tells us that all explorers must perform a dexterity check using their dexterity attribute. Balthazar's dexterity is also just 2, so let's re-roll. We're looking for any success. There's no number attributed to this scenario performance check. We've rolled a critical failure and an audacity. Now remember, we can turn an audacity into success by spending 1 audacity. So now we can ensure that we've passed this check. The critical failure, again, does nothing this time. There's no critical failure result. They tend to be only relevant during certain event checks or in combat with creatures that have certain special abilities. We've got our 1 success thanks to our audacity. Let's see what happens. You were lucky. The room you're in was far from the station's surface and the shaking was minimal. If we'd failed, however, we might be subject to some damage as this meteor storm pummeled the station. That's it then, let's push on. That's the end of the station phase, so we get to explore further as we begin turn 3. We do have +1 movement, but it's not going to help us here because we're going to stop and explore the next tile. It's an airlock. This time the room has a spawn icon. This was the action icon, reflecting the fact we had a special action. Remember, this was the search icon. Okay. This is another scenario trigger, the airlock explored. You enter the airlock and discover an intruder. The airlock has a when explored effect. It says here, when explored, spawn 1 creature. This means we need to draw the top creature from the random creature stack and see what it is. We did stack this during setup, so we know what's coming, but typically it would be a random creature. It's the pirate crew. We'll need a creature tracker. And remember, we can just grab this one as it goes. We've only got 2 quartermasters in the game. We want the 1 to 6 showing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That will spawn just one creature, so this will be number 1. Here's its standee, but we're going to use the miniature with the deluxe expansion. So let's start our first encounter with a creature. Now there is one player count adjustment we need to make. We talked about some of these during setup, but shield tokens, every creature spawns with one shield token when you're playing 1, 2 or 3 players. That's the final leveling mechanic we'll see. But these shield tokens are tough. They basically block the first 2 damage from an attack. It's a Starling Pirate Scout. You don't want him getting back to his masters and reporting on your position. We're going to have to take him out. So at the start of our turn, we're going to use a start combat action to attack the pirate. And we're going to need to fight 1 round of combat against this creature. Baltazar's strong in combat. He's got combat 4. Nakatomi adds knowledge. We saw that already. Jack Holden adds power. And we are focused, which means we have our lizard brain focused ability. Add 1 to the combat dice pool. Remember, focused is 6 or more courage. That's 5 dice. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successes. No need to use our audacity now. So 5 is our combat score. The shield is going to block 2 of those, which leaves 3. That's the amount of damage we'll deal this creature. 3 damage. Next we compare our combat score, so it's a single roll, to the creature's combat score, which is shown here in the bottom right. This creature has a combat score of 3, so now we're defending that attack with our 5 successes. If we're equal or higher, we successfully defend and take no damage. If we do take damage, we check the creature's damage value, which is this value here at the bottom, 3. We would take 3 damage to our stamina. Now the combat round's over. If we dealt enough damage equal or greater than the pirate's stamina, which is the next stat up at 7, then the pirate's killed. So it's got 4 stamina left. If we damaged the creature at all, we did, then we gain 1 courage and 1 power. So 1 extra courage, we're up to 7, and then 1 power from 1 to 2. Now we do have Jack Holden, and Jack says anytime you gain power, gain 1 additional power. Remember, power is the way we level up. And there is a scenario trigger on here. First creature defeated. We're not quite there yet. But we've moved and we've used our action, combat action. Now it's the event token. This time it's the scenario trigger. And we're looking at event track number 3. It's the 3rd spot on the event track. And we've got a narrative here to continue the story. You're doing very well, explorers, Darwin tells you. I'm beginning to believe that our meeting was more than just serendipity. I've waited a very long time here on the station for the arrival of individuals fit to be called paladins. You are certainly not there yet, but there may still be hope for the galaxy. All explorers gain 1 courage and 1 power, it tells us, and now it's the end of your turn. So 1 courage and 1 power, I like this. An additional 1 because of our companion. Now we've got a choice on our next turn. Do we continue to explore, or do we try and finish off the pirate crew? I think we'll stop and finish off that pirate. What do you think? Incidentally, if I did choose to move back here where this storage bay is and these search icons are, once the last search event of the scenario is read and completed, then you remove all further search tokens from the board, so there's no more searching to be done here. Incidentally, if we did choose to move, creatures can move. The pirate crew have this final stat, a movement of 4. So it could be a combat event or a scenario event that causes creatures to move. We do have to do quite a bit of damage, so we do risk some turns here. So our combat stat is still 4, plus 1, we're properly focused. We need more than 2 successes because of the shield. We've got 4, so that's an additional 2 damage. Did roll a crit as well, but the pirate crew have no critical failure effects. Quartermaster does. It says if a crit is rolled, reduce damage received by 2. So shield box 2, that's 2 more damage. Up to 5, still not enough, but we do block his attack. We're not moving, let's move to the next event on the station track. It's a blank. Should we go again? I think we should. And we need just 2 more damage. So we're looking for 4 successes here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, we got it. Okay. Good job. This guy is defeated. Let's take our 2 power, 1 courage. And now, of course, we've hit the next scenario trigger as well, which is the first creature defeated. Good job. You've killed the pirate before it could do any real damage. Whenever you kill a creature by combat or by any means, you gain a kill bonus. You gain +1 power, which we know is 2 for us. Jack Holden is a super companion. And you and any other explorers in the same room gain 1 courage. If you kill multiple creatures, those bonuses will multiply. And having killed the last of a type of creature, not the scenario creatures, this is one that always comes in, this would get shuffled back into this random creature deck. Right? So the next random creature might be something different, it might be the same. Okay, let's push on. Next event is an Explorer event. Explorer events are a separate type of event. We've already seen the Station event. Now we have an Explorer event. And here, Explorer event number 1. There's a sharp pain in the back of your head and you flash back to a much earlier time. Whenever you encounter an Explorer event for the first time in a scenario, the first thing you do is refer to your Explorer journal. And we read the next entry for the current campaign in your Explorer archives. So these are memories that you've revealed. You're only going to do this for the first time you encounter an Explorer event. If you encounter a second one in the same scenario, you don't read from your journal, but you proceed directly to the Explorer event itself. So we can read this about Balthazar. I'm not going to read it, I'm going to leave this for you to explore yourselves. But you can mark it as read, and then you'll know next time it'll be reveal number 2. Okay. And then once the Explorer archive is read, you may have noticed just after the introduction here, it tells you there's a recall roll. So you roll 1d6, and then depending on what the outcome, this is the effect of this memory recall on your Explorer's mental state. So let's roll a d6. It's a 3, so aware. We'll never get used to seeing the memories play back like a holovid, but you do take solace in the fact that they're only memories and the past remains the past. Gain 1 courage. Okay, so you gain a courage on this track. You're back in the Icarus, approaching the station. You enter the docking station and 3 drones approach you. Assessment complete. No threat detected, one of them says. What is this, you try to demand, but you find you can't speak, as the vision is just a memory, it fades, and you're back where you were. This is no cause for alarm, Darwin says, his voice still inside your head, which on its own is enough to cause some alarm. There are some harmless side effects from being connected to my bionet. You may experience errant memories from early in your life, as well as the memories of others that are collected in my archives. Your mind may instinctively try to seek out more information about yourself. This effect should only last a few years or so. What exactly have you signed up for here? The scenario now tells us, increase our power to 10. We're going to level up. And once more, we've hit a scenario trigger. It says, first explorer exceeds 10 power. You've learned much from your experience and you feel ready for anything. Congratulations, you've leveled up. Choose one of your explorer abilities and flip its level to level 2. Okay, so now we get the +3 to the combat dice pool when focused, +2 when unfocused. It also tells us to gain 3 stamina, Our stamina's already maxed out. We gain 1 audacity from 4 to 5, and we reset our power back down to 1. And that's it, we've leveled up. Those bonuses to audacity and to stamina, the re-heal and resetting your power to 1, they always happen. As you move through different scenarios, one other option is, instead of turning and leveling up one of your skills, is to swap it out for another one in your inventory. We don't have any currently. Remember, they need to be unlocked. For now though, we're going to push on with our next turn, and we're going to continue moving and exploring. Let's move through this airlock door here, and we've explored communications. Once more, this is a scenario trigger. You've found the communications room, which is the central nexus for the station's comms and functions as a secondary bridge during emergencies. There's no when explored effect here, but we've got an extra action which could come in handy. At first you feel overwhelmed by all the flashing lights and bright monitors. Then the room fills with an ominous red light that can only mean something bad. On the 2 central screens you see images of Starling pirate vessels boarding the station. The scenario tells us to spawn 1 pirate crew and 1 quartermaster in the docking station, and then 1 quartermaster and pirate in the airlock. At this point it's also worth me removing these companions from the board, because they're just going to confuse things, because we're going to be looking at something called overpowered. If there's creatures and explorers in the same room together, the creatures will overpower the explorers if the number of creatures equals or exceeds the number of explorers, or indeed if there's a boss creature. We've not seen those yet in the room. If you're overpowered in a room, you can't search, you can't use the room action, or interact with any other tokens in the room. There's things like quest tokens. In addition, if you try to leave a room where you're overpowered, then you'll suffer an evasion penalty. That's 1 stamina per creature in the room you're evading. -3 for each boss. Quickly, Darwin advises, use the command to vent the docking station before the pirates can gain a foothold. There's an action here. Vent to space. If no explorer is present in target boarding entrance, select a creature to vent into space. The bosses are immune. The docking station and the airlock are both boarding entrances. It says boarding entrance here and here. Boarding entrance means the shuttle can dock with them, like the Icarus here. But it also means enemies frequently spawn here. This is a spawning point. And it means we can take this action now to vent to space, this special action to immediately kill one of them. Now that's going to be a pretty useful action if the enemies stay in those spots, but that ends our turn. We've taken our action, and now the station track needs to be flipped once more. But this time it's the combat event. And once more we've got a special section in the scenario guide for the first combat event token being revealed. One of the hulking quartermasters sends a signal to attack, and the pirates charge at you together. Normally when a combat event triggers you won't read an event passage, because combat's always resolved the same way, but here we'll see in the tutorial we're talking you through it. All creatures, when you reveal a combat event token, will move and attack. First, they'll simultaneously move a number of spaces equal to their movement. You can check their stats. We've got just 1 quartermaster now with a movement of 3, and of course it should have a shield. Number 2's gone. And then the pirate crew we have 2 of, and they have a move of 4. They're going to move as far as they can closest to the nearest explorer, and if they reach an explorer they stop moving. That puts both pirates in here with Balthazar. The quartermaster didn't have quite enough move. Once they finish moving, each creature in a room with an explorer is going to attack. If there are creatures of different types, the one with the highest combat score attacks first. Their combat scores are here in the bottom right, so the quartermaster would attack first with the combat score of 4, then the pirate crew with a combat score of 3. We've only got pirates here. And if there's more than one explorer here, the first creature to attack attacks the one with the highest power, and the second creature the one with the next highest power. So they would spread their attacks out. They're all not going to attack the same explorer. We're playing solo, so both of these pirates are attacking Balthazar. If there were two explorers here and they happen to have the same power, you just roll a d6 to break the tie. Combat's just the same as before. The only difference here is that it's the creatures initiating combat and they're choosing who fights whom, as opposed to when we initiate combat and we get to decide. So we build our combat pool. We're focused now with an additional 3 dice on top of our 4, so we've actually got 7 dice in attack. Remember, they've got their shields. So let's go with Pirate Crew number 1. Oh, that's a dreadful roll. We've got just 1 hit and 2 audacity. So we're going to have to choose, 1 hit. We're going to have to spend audacity, I think. We'll spend 1, that makes it 3 successes. We don't take any damage because we're equal or higher than their combat strength, and they will take 1 hit. Remember, the shield blocks 2. We will get our power and courage bonus because we did the hit. Remember, it's 1 power, an extra 1 because of Jack Holden. And same again. Wow, that's terrible. Just 1 hit. But it's enough to defend the attack and gain some power. Now it's our turn, and I think we will choose to move and explore. Let's show you what happens in this evasion check. Let's move and head this way. It's got the search icon. It's the research lab. That's our movement. We are evading, so we're going to take 2 stamina damage. There is no scenario trigger for finding the research lab, and there is no search event here, so actually these tokens will not get placed. Now we can use our stim pack. It's got 2 uses: to heal back up, and that's a free action. There is also the heal action that you can take. It's a knowledge check to restore number of successes worth of health. But I think we'll quickly do an adrenaline check. So remember, that's a mythos check. It's 2 dice and we're looking for the number of successes. And we could, if we wanted to, use our blood rage ability. Spend stamina to gain bonus to checks. Gain 1 die for each stamina spent. So we could use as many as we wanted. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 successes. That ends our turn, and we move to the station phase, and it's the final trigger, the scenario trigger of the scenario. And it says, you've thinned out the enemies that have boarded the station and are starting to feel some hope that you might survive this. Suddenly, the station shudders as it is struck by blaster fire and the lights go out. You can only barely see by the beam light of your weapon. You hear a clunk. A large vessel has docked, Darwin says. You turn to the boarding entrance in time to see the airlock cycle open with a hiss. Huge tentacles slither through the opening, their movement mesmerizing. You hear a voice in your head, not Darwin's this time. The station is mine. Then the vision, the voice, and the pirates around you are all gone. The lights are on, not as if they've been turned on, but as if they were never off. Congratulations, Darwin says. You've reached the end of the training simulation. This concludes your training. So we've reached the end of the scenario. We read the win condition at the scenario conclusion. Very suddenly, you're back in the holodeck. Seated in an ergonomic white chair recovering from your virtual experience, you feel a thin layer of nanogel sliding off of you. One of Darwin's drones floats up before you. Thankfully, his voice issues from a speaker this time. You've completed basic training and you should now understand how to survive on the station, he says. Please be aware that the challenges you faced were pre-programmed and the coming challenges you face will be unpredictable and much more difficult. If you're ready to begin, please return to your shuttle. while I refresh the station's layout and prepare for the enemy boarding party, Darwin says. Now the scenario concludes. We can tick off the fact we've completed scenario 1, and the scenario tells us that we've unlocked some rewards, the station system drone. So if we go to our station system deck, we can see that we've unlocked now this additional system. And that's it, we've completed this scenario, and we'll push on to scenario 2, the mystery of Paladin. This time it tells us we have to play Nakatomi. We don't have any starting items, but we choose one system, either the drone or Darwin, and then shuffle the matching tile into the top 7 in the stack. So remember our stack of location tiles. So if we choose the drone, it's drone control. If we choose Darwin, it's the master sanctum. That's where his action is effective. Either one of those. So we have the drone, we place that here, and the drone control, and that will appear in our stack, okay, in the top 7. And that's it. We start at the docking station. Lots of creatures in the holding area this time. Everything else is randomized, and a much larger station track. All right, and these will be random. So 4 station events, 5 explore events, 11 blanks randomly placed within here. And that's your tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed learning how to play the game. It's really pretty straightforward, with the depth coming from all the different variety of items, creatures, locations, all the different actions that room actions provide, abilities of your characters and the different characters themselves. So that's Secrets of the Lost Station. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on Box of the Lights again soon.